Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered how to embrace the hard? I have. Man, sometimes I'm not great at the intro. It's hard.
Dude, sometimes my finger just wants to push that trigger in my resistance. That's not easy.
You get trigger finger,
Trigger
trigger
finger.
happy.
Oops. Sorry, man. I cut you.
You're great. You're great. It's not a problem at all. So,
Yeah.
if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the alert button so that you can get all the alerts when we go live. If you want to join us through Facebook, we're on a tribe of giants. It's an amazing place where there are tons of people to support and to learn and grow through our giant journey, whatever that looks like for you. So we appreciate you being here and following us because we do, because it's fun.
We
You're
just keep
amazing.
showing up.
It's weird.
We just keep pushing play. We keep hitting the buttons. We
Yep.
keep playing the intro too early.
We do a lot of weird things. But today is 11/11, which is a pretty cool number. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good. There's days though that I don't. That actually, hi Natalie, that
Good
just
morning.
that are there's days that are just absolutely terrible. There's days that are hard. There's moments that are hard.
Yeah.
Um, do you does Nicholas T. Smith ever feel like, I don't know, just crappy? Like it's like stuff's hard. I doubt it.
Who are
I
you
don't think he
talking to,
does. I
man?
really don't think he does.
No, I do almost every day.
Oh,
Every
really?
day. Yeah, the reality is that here's what I experience. I experience emotions that I could label as hard. Like hard is a construct. Hard is a concept that we hold that something is something, and emotionally it feels maybe heavy,
Hmm.
difficult, difficile, defeating, right? Despairing. But it's a construct. I've got a pretty heavy delay here, so let me know if the audio is good.
I
Is
can
it
hear you fine.
okay? It's just the video. But the idea that something is hard is simply a construct that that thing is hard. However, it's a truth for somebody. So when somebody says something's hard, their truth says that that's hard. For you to deny that is to deny their truth. And so if somebody comes to me and they
Because
say,
it's real for them, right?
yeah, it's a subjective, and it could be a subjective and an objective truth, meaning that there's evidence and facts for it in the world that yeah, that's hard. But in most cases, it's subjective, and whatever they're experiencing is so real for them that is their reality. It's their reality. It's their truth. And for us to undermine that undermines our connection with them. And so when we discount it, in essence, we're saying, "Oh, it's not that bad."
Hmm.
We're discounting their truth,
Yeah.
and there may be room for them to sway that truth and move that truth into some other truth, because you can have different truths that are truths at the same time, but one can they can be antonyms for each other. Um, but to sway that truth, it starts with an empathy that yeah, that sounds really hard.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could relate to that. I could see that, right?
Yeah, and your hard might be, like your capacity could be different than my capacity. So, yeah, I like what you're saying because your hard might be way harder than my hard,
Yeah,
or way
yeah,
different than my hard. Uh, we also experience emotions and feelings in different ways, and
yeah,
those can contribute to, you know that level of the feeling of hard, the
yeah.
struggle. I mean, the struggle bus is real. I hit
The
it.
struggle
I,
bus.
I'm on it a lot.
Yeah, struggle bus. I forgot about that. Oh, I love this struggle
There's
bus.
some hard things. What I have found though is that if if I shy away from it, if
Yeah,
I don't, um I recognize when emotions and those things come up, and I feel through them, and sometimes I got to sit with them, and sometimes I got to sit with them for a while. It doesn't feel like we ever sleep, Steve. No, some days no, but I'll sit with my emotions and my feelings, and sometimes it's just a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds, and then other times it's a longer sit. I need to sit through it, but
Can I
but
walk you through a process here?
sure. I was just gonna say that,
Yeah,
but what I found through whatever I'm going through, that the growth is on the other side of the hard.
right.
And so I'll figure a way to move through it or navigate through it. I'll call people, I'll talk to people, I'll find a mentor, somebody else that's been there, done that, that feels the same things, and then knows, hey, this is what I felt, this is what I found, kind of a thing. But
Yeah,
you
you need.
tell me some of the things you were thinking.
Let's see if I can do this. Can you see that? Nope.
Yeah, yeah.
You can.
Oh,
There we go.
the
Well,
world
look at
can.
you, man.
Now the world can.
Okay, this is where Nick's mind is going this morning,
Hmm.
right? So the idea of a hard thing is that there's this possibility out there, this construct or this idea that stems from our judgment of that thing as being difficult. Difficile. I went to Latin for some reason there. Difficile.
There you're
It's
welcome. All
difficult.
of our Spanish
My
speaking
mind is thinking
people.
it's Spanish this morning.
That's good.
So we go and we have this interaction with something in our environment, and we either create hope or despair from that thing. Like there's a hope that it could be, or a despair that it could be. There's movement toward or movement away from, and then
Mhm.
we move into this goes almost to a spiritual religious sense of this faith, which is pre-trusting. It's like this. There's either a doubt, like there's no way that could happen, or there's faith. And then we have trust or distrust through the evidence that we collect around that. So trust and distrust is even further, and that's evidential. That's where we go out and test it and test it and test it, and we start to get evidence for it, and then we start to trust that, and becomes our beliefs. So our beliefs are those things that we're holding dear, and they're groupings of evidence for that thing, evidence for or evidence against, right? And that's where we create our beliefs, and those become our truths and our facts. A fact is something that has evidence to support it in reality, whereas a truth is more subjective. This is my reality based on the evidence that I've collected around my world.
Mhm.
And so around that, we move from that evidential space. I went right into teaching mode here, dude.
I like it. Teach.
We
Teach and
take that
preach.
relative truth, and that becomes the foundation or basis of our judgment. And that judgment is our opinion or prediction into the world of what will happen based on that experience, based on our truths and beliefs.
Mhm.
And then that impacts our emotions, which either get us into action or out of action around something, which creates a result or a non result. And then that confirms our truths. And so we anchor it back in. So when somebody's saying that something is hard, they have a relative experience around hard, what hard means. And then they create judgments around hard. And then they have emotions that impact hard. And then they take action or don't take action around that feeling of hard.
Hmm.
And that creates their result that either confirms or denies what they're experiencing. So we can pop that off there. But the judgments, I think fears are they're also judgments, but also emotions. Fears are emotions. And so they're emotions tied to judgments. And so it's almost a mixing of the two. So when we're feeling fear, it's really that we've got thoughts and beliefs that have anchored in that create emotions that cause us to respond a certain way. So when we're feeling fear, we feel we have evidence to support that emotion, which
Yeah,
runs us into yeah,
Jen says hard is perspective, and I would say that it is perspective based on where you're at, where you're going through. As you go through something and learn
yeah,
and get through that hard, looking back at it, the next time it comes up, your capacity has most likely increased, so it's less hard.
yeah.
And
You
so
might
your perspective changes to now a different perspective. I look off into the distance
yeah,
like it's over there.
you might soften your view on hard, right?
Yeah.
I made slides this morning. That's, but you know
That's
why?
your love language.
Slides are my love language. The
I
five
love you, brother.
languages plus one Nick's the slides.
Yeah, you just make Nick slides and graphs and charts and send them to him. Just
Well,
with it, you don't even have to say I love you. You just say, "Dear Nick, here's some
I'm like, oh,
slides."
that's special.
Yeah,
I've received. Oh, you got flowers? I got slides.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
okay, so Jen, going back to that. So some fears are hardwired, or
nope.
is that
This,
what
yeah,
was?
and this one.
Ryan, come on, man.
I know. I'm Mr. Cut. Hold on. I'll
Yeah,
find one.
yeah,
Yep.
you got it.
There we go. This
Um,
one's the best.
loving you both.
I love
Hey,
you more.
loving you too.
Yeah.
But fears hardwired in. Yeah, I think there are some innate fears that they're hardwired in. Like a lion comes in a room, that might feel a little bit scary, right?
Yep.
Red slides, guys. Red slides. My favorite color.
Yeah.
Red. It's not. I'm going to spill my coffee. We're going to ramble a little bit. This will
This
be a
is
little bit
okay.
longer video, but
It's a great day
um,
to ramble.
I think the whole idea around this is that when somebody comes to you and say, "I'm having a hard time,"
Hmm.
for you to deny that, going back to that, is to deny their truth. And their truth has evidence in their world that that is their truth. Now, it doesn't mean it's true for everybody. It means it's their truth. And so holding space for their truth gives them space to have a new experience, because you might be able to introduce something that would shift that experience, which adds new evidence back in to help shift that belief. And so that belief that it's hard for them is their truth, but in interacting with you and holding space for them in their truth, you might be able to shift that into a new truth, a new
Hmm.
way of understanding. So I just think that when somebody comes to us and says, "I'm having a hard time," to relate to that is what they're looking for. Wow, I can really relate to that. Yeah, that does sound hard. I can understand where you're coming from. And then to work with them to create a new truth. Right? The judgments are saying this is hard. The judgment, the opinion is this is hard. The emotions that come with that are evidence that this is hard. And the results that come from that are also evidence that this is hard, which anchors in their beliefs and their truths. And so for us to deny that would be to deny all that experience. And so to hold space and say that I can relate to that, I can see your judgments. And then when we forgive ourselves for those judgments and create a new truth, and the new truth is, then we open ourselves up to a perception of something new, a new possibility, a new way of being, which takes us back through the cycle of when there's something possible, you go into hope. And when you have hope, you go into faith. And when you go into faith, you go into trust. And when you go to trust, you start anchoring in beliefs, and those beliefs become your truths. And then those truths are the foundation for your judgments, which become the foundation for your emotions. And your emotions cause your actions or inactions. And
Hmm.
then that creates your reality. So you shift from possibility to reality all through that cycle, but your truths are getting in the way
There is a
sometimes.
little hint, a little sliver of danger inside of this too.
Hmm.
You can get stuck in the story you tell.
Hmm.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard.
Right, right. That's the story, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Whatever you're telling yourself. So I love it being able to have a coach like Nick where he'll say, "Man, that's a great story you're telling. If I was buying that, I probably, like if that was a book, I'd probably buy it." Is I think almost word for word what you told me.
yeah.
What it does is it helps you step back and be aware, be conscious of what you're saying and how you're living.
Well, and if somebody wants to dive into that and really look at their story, um, I have, I don't have stock in your story.
Right.
And so having a conversation with me is going to put us in a space where you might have stock in your story, but I'm going to step back as a neutral observer. And when we have that conversation, it's just simply us having a conversation and really objectively looking at what you're telling as your truth. So this is where I'd invite people. You can DM me and we'll set up a time to do that. And I would do that. There wouldn't be a charge, and we'll just explore it. There would if we moved forward, but there wouldn't be just to explore it.
Yeah. I encourage people to do that. There's something powerful when you get to talk to Nick Smith one on one and talk to him about where you're at
I
and what
talk
you
to
want to
me all
do.
the time, all
Yeah,
of my personalities.
it's super powerful. Hey, you do you. It's all
I,
good.
oh, I do. Yeah. I I'm curious about this stuff because it occurs in me. And so I'm curious about it. I want to know the solutions because my beliefs get in the way of my success.
Yeah.
And so I have concepts of hard. I have coaches that call me out. Townsend Wardlaw the other day said, "What if it's not hard?"
Hmm.
Steve Hardison. If I were to have this conversation with Steve Hardison, he might have me shift and look at it. And even the imagining of what Steve Hardison might say might be enough for me to shift my perspective, even if we never had a conversation. I might think, what would Steve Hardison say in this situation, and have a shift from that. But the heart is a construct that we've created to support us in the evidence that we've gathered from our interactions with this world. And so I think it's really up to us to open up and soften around the hard, like to open up to the possibility that maybe it's not hard. And to
Yeah.
honor people's truths, whatever they are, Ryan. Like if you came to me and said, this is really hard, I would say, you know what, that sounds hard. I can understand where you're coming from. I wouldn't immediately go into the space of saying, well, but it's not. I would say, yeah, tell me about it. Tell me more of why you think that's hard. Huh? Did you notice this? And then that would allow something. I want to read this. If you'd like another insight in this concept, read or listen to lesson 8 in the way of mastery. I'll do that today.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the pebbles that you drop into your awareness, and that's how it all is created. It's interesting that simple things like pebbles into your awareness over time create complex systems called beliefs and truths that underlie every action that we take. And so really looking at the pebbles that we're dropping each day is important, because it might not feel like today there's a drastic change, but those pebbles that you're dropping today, I love that, Steve, thank you, are going to be the foundation for your tomorrow. So embrace the hard.
And there's a perfect example of somebody else seeing something different because they can take the emotion out of it,
Yep.
just see you and love you and where you're at, and then help just as a possibility drop in a little truth nugget,
Yeah. Yeah.
a truth pebble.
Really
Thanks,
spin
Steve, for the
things
truth
up.
pebble.
Yeah. Love the shit out of your hard stuff.
That's true.
Ripples.
Yeah.
Ripple your lake, like seriously, why not throw pebbles into your lake to really test and see what you hold as a truth,
Hmm.
to see if there is truthfully or evidentially evidence for that is objectively measurable, that is how it is. You get into things like spirituality, and it's more subjective. It feels like people all have their individual experience of what spirituality is. Scientifically, there's things that we can measure, but what I love about all of it is scientists are simply explaining what already is. They're not discovering, they're uncovering, in a way, but they're discovering what's already there and
Mm-hmm.
explaining it in a way that shows evidence for it, which I love. I love the evidence for it, because then that becomes a truth for me, and there's evidence to support it. And I have experiences where there isn't that evidence to support it, and it's still a truth for me.
Can you
And
make a
so,
slide for me for that?
yeah, I can.
Okay.
What's your
Thanks.
favorite? What color?
Blue.
It'll just say one word on it. uh,
Love you too.
anyway, man, we went on 20 minutes. You guys all hung with us. Thank you, Ryan. What else? I mean, is that what you wanted to
Yeah, I'm
cover?
grateful. I think that's exactly the message that I was hoping, is that, like, life's hard. There's some hard things, whatever you think is hard, and not to discount that. And that's, um, we see you, we love you, we know that you're going through some stuff, but you can grow through it. You can do hard things. Um, and I'm grateful for all the giants that are there to support and guide and help you see something in a different light.
Me
So
too.
keep going. You're doing
Even
great,
at
giants.
7 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah, or
all these
wherever
people.
you're at.
Yeah. Amazing. Guys, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, but only always. And from there, what could you create as a possibility if you embraced what is, including the hard stuff? And so, yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Steve. I'm going to listen to that
Yep.
today. That's my commitment, my agreement. That's my agreement. Commitment. We'll see what I do with it. Right. Yeah. Anyway, guys, we love you. Thank you for being on. We will catch you in the next episode. If I can click the brand button here.
Love you too. So